Recent security threat assessment and analysis of the coming election showed that politicians have made plans to use all means available to truncate the peaceful conduct of the elections. There are indications of their intent to take advantage of and to use the farmers' hardest crisis, armed political thugs and ethnic militia to perpetrate acts of violence, including bombings. Some of them also intend to infiltrate domestic staff of political opponents, employ mercenaries to carry out acts of assassinations, use of the social media for smear campaigns, hate speeches, and spread fake news in a bid to disrupt the peaceful conduct of the elections. We must not allow them to succeed. Let me reiterate that the Nigerian Army will enforce all guidelines in support of Nigeria Police Force to ensure the peaceful conduct of the elections in line with its constitutional roles. I therefore want to remind us all not to rest on our oars. We shall not allow those who are determined to undermine our electoral process to succeed. These forthcoming gubernatorial and state assembly elections are very crucial. This is an election that touches on the interests of the people at the grassroots and could likely be volatile in nature. It is important to reiterate that politicians will employ and deploy all means to outwit each other to gain control of power at the level. We may recall that in the recently concluded polls, some politicians in their quest for power armed thugs and miscreants with automatic weapons induce and coerce youth corps and INEC ad hoc staff to perpetrate acts of electoral malpractices. We must therefore continue to support the Nigerian Police Force and other security agencies to prevent these malpractices from occurring again. I therefore urge you all as commanders to work assiduously and closely with the civil authorities and all law-abiding individuals as well as groups. Support the Nigeria Police Force and other security agencies to prevent these malpractices from occurring again. I therefore urge all commanders to work assiduously and closely with the civil authorities and all law-abiding individuals as well as groups to ensure the success of the forthcoming elections. During the course of the recently concluded elections, troops of the Nigerian Army were able to make arrests of persons who perpetrated acts of electoral offenses. These suspects are to be immediately handed over to the police for prosecution. I want to state that and categorically warn that the Nigerian Army, this time around, we shall be tough on those who plan to rig or disrupt the electoral process. I therefore want to appeal to Nigerian youth to shun any attempt by any politician to use them to perpetrate any form of violence as we mourn the death of the young officer and soldiers killed on the course of their lawful duty during the recently held elections. I want to assure their families that their death will not be in vain. In line with the tradition of the Nigerian Army, they will be given heroic burial as they indeed are the heroes of our democracy. I have directed that their full entitlement be paid. Let no one be in doubt that those disparate politicians and criminals that attacked our troops in the course of carrying out their legitimate duties will be tracked down and brought to justice. We have all seen the advantages of the Nigerian Army Situation Room for election security monitoring. This laudable innovation to security monitoring has received accolades from different quarters and already promoting interagency cooperation. There is no doubt it assisted us in timely decision-making and more timely response to situations. I want to urge all commanders to further key into the platform. As we take decisions and respond, we must have at the back of our minds that the Army must remain professional and apolitical all through the electoral process. There have been reports of alleged compromises by some personnel during the elections. We have received complaints from some stakeholders, the major political parties, especially governors of Bayelsa, Oyo, Ogun State, and of course Imo State, of misconduct as well as unprofessional conduct by some of our personnel. Unfortunately, other states have gone to the press with unsubstantiated allegations without resort to the Nigerian Army leadership. Nonetheless, all these complaints have been noted and will be addressed appropriately. Already a high-powered committee had been convened and instituted to investigate all cases of alleged misconducts by troops arising from the 2019 general elections. This is aimed at ensuring that all cases are thoroughly looked into for the purpose of dispensation of justice and to uphold Nigerian Army's credibility, professionalism, and a political stand. Once again, let me reiterate my charge to you concerning this election. Commanders must be vigilant to ensure that cases of infiltration to scare off voters are not allowed. Hobnobbing and fraternization with politicians during the election period is totally prohibited. Commanders must ensure robust and extensive patrols are carried out to cover all flashpoints, enforce the no movement restrictions, and carry out thorough searches of vehicles and persons. Commanders must deal decisively with any electoral crime or action such as electoral thuggery, snatching of ballot boxes, illegal possession of electoral materials and firearms, as well as other crimes that will mar the smooth conduct of the elections. Military escort for any politician or retired military personnel until after the elections. Commanders must ensure that no retired military officer is allowed to use service weapons hitherto authorized for their personal safety during the period of the election. Commanders must ensure that troops remain on ground to counter and deal ruthlessly with any post-election violence. Commanders must work in conjunction with the police and other security agencies to dominate the environment to forestall any form of violence. Commanders must maintain force protection and respond decisively to prevent any surprise attack on troops of Operation Safe Conduct and eligible voters by armed militia groups or political thugs. Commanders must act according to the rules of engagement and within the code of conduct, as well as have respect for fundamental human rights in the performance of the assigned task. Commanders must not take any unlawful orders from any politician, no matter how highly placed, that will jeopardize the political stand of the Nigerian Army. Commanders must ensure troops under their command remain apolitical, neutral, and should deal ruthlessly with electoral law breakers, as well as avoid compromise with any politician and indeed the political parties. Finally, I want to see this opportunity to thank all of you, and indeed all well-meaning Nigerians for their support to the Nigerian Army. Our situation room and the hotlines, contact numbers are open for timely passage of information. We urge them to take advantage of the facilities. I want to assure Nigerians that we are more than committed to ensuring the successful conduct of the elections on the 9th of this month. In the words of Sun Tzu, and I quote, "The general is the safeguard of the state. If the safeguard is flawed, the state is surely weak. We cannot afford that," quote and unquote. The Nigerian Army must therefore work to keep the promise to our nation and make it strong by ensuring that this election is free of all forms of violence. We must therefore strive to make a difference. On this note, I want to also most sincerely thank His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari for giving the Nigerian Army the opportunity to exercise its constitutional role without any bias or interference. We must therefore remain totally committed to the defense of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I wish you all a successful conduct of Operation Safe Conduct and indeed a violence-free election. Thank you and God bless.